Hey folks, this is Riker with the Gaming News Wrap-Up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include Lost Ark's leaked roadmap, Overwatch 2's beta finally starting soon, Diablo 3 Season 26 PDR starting, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. But before we go on, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Squarespace. I built my website, Riker.com, using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself, quickly and easily, and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Watch how easily I update my Diablo 3 page to embed my latest Season 25 YouTube videos. Everything was set up with some templates that I was able to easily customize to my needs, no knowledge of coding required. You can even connect your social media profiles to automatically push website content to your socials, and even set up members-only areas with exclusive content. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. And Squarespace is currently offering my viewers 10% off your first purchase with them. Just go to squarespace.com/Riker or click the link in the description to sign up and start building your online presence. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Riker to get started today. In our first quick story, according to a new report from Deadline, Sony is in talks with Amazon to develop a TV series based on God of War. It will be a live-action series held by the creators of the popular Amazon series The Expanse. Very different genre, of course, The Expanse being sci-fi, and the showrunner of the Wheel of Time series is also attached to the project. Now, this show is still just in the negotiation phase. It could fall through, but as long as Christopher Judge plays Kratos, I say bring it on indeed. In quick Elden Ring news, the game reached a higher concurrent player count peak in its second week than it did in its first, reaching over 950,000 concurrent players on Steam. And according to Steam achievements, only 58% of players have defeated the first major boss, as of the time of this recording. For players who are new to Soulsborne games, it's a harsh reality check. But, you know, as they say, if at first you don't succeed, die, 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 die again. In quick Warcraft news, we got some announcements of announcements. March 15th will see the reveal of a Hearthstone expansion. April 19th will see the reveal of the 10th expansion for World of Warcraft. And in May we'll have the reveal of the Warcraft mobile game. Interesting to note again is that it is explicitly a Warcraft mobile game and not a World of Warcraft mobile game, so I do wonder what the significance of that is. But as for the WoW expansion, what do you folks think the expansion will be about? And how will it revolve around Sylvanas? Sound off in the comments. In last Epoch news, we saw the kickoff of a week of daily teasers leading up to the Depths of Eterra content update coming on March 18th. Every day we'll see new information come to light covering new unique items, dungeons, reworks, and culminating with the patch notes before launch day. Patch 085 will introduce 2 new dungeons to the game as well as arena champions. Dungeons are repeatable endgame content that also exist within the campaign and that can actually impact your campaign playthrough based on their random spawn. So you can have 2 completely different campaign experiences depending on dungeon spawns. Every dungeon has some unique mechanic to it as well as unique rewards. In the Soulfire Bastion dungeon, the unique mechanic is that you have a Soulfire shield, which makes you completely impervious to either fire damage or necrotic damage. The dungeon will heavily feature both types of damage, and in order to change from fire to necrotic and back, you have to feed soul embers to the shield. So you have to decide when you want to pay the cost to swap elements. You collect these soul embers by basically defeating things within the dungeon, but you cannot just carelessly spend them. They're going to be a valuable resource. And the Lightless Arbor dungeon seems to have some mechanic based around light radius. In Lost Ark news, the devs acknowledged the growing issue of botting in the game and announced that they banned 1 million bot accounts this week. Amazon and Smilegate together announced that the game has exceeded 20 million global users, with the Western launch adding 4.7 million new users in the first 3 days post-launch, with more than 10 million now about a month later. This week also saw the leak of a content roadmap that quickly vanished from the internet. But it included, among other things, mention that the Destroyer class would release in April and the Arcana class in May. The legitimacy of the leak was sort of confirmed when community manager Rox addressed it on the official forums, stating, quote, "Please be aware we are making adjustments to our upcoming content roadmap based on player progression data, so what you see may be subject to change. We will be sharing an updated roadmap soon." Now, I know a lot of players are really hoping to see more classes release more rapidly. There are a handful of classes that are available in the Korean version of the game that did not release with the Western client, and the devs have said that they'd release one class every 2 to 3 months, so that could be a long time, up to a year, before some of these classes are released. Now, the devs do seem open to speeding this up. They continue to solicit feedback and state that they want to be responsive to player feedback. Now, from what I can tell, the core issue with staggering class releases over such a long period of time is that there are a number of Western players that have played the Korean version of the game, and so they know what class they want to main because they've been maining it in the Korean version. And if that class is not yet released, that may leave them feeling unsatisfied having to main a different class for potentially 6 months before their class releases. It can be difficult to invest your time and effort into a character that you know is just temporary, that you're going to abandon once you get your main. Meanwhile, the March update released this week, bringing with it new story content for Tier 3 players, a new 8-player Abyss Raid Argos for the 0.01% of players that have reached item level 1370, a new skin collection, and a new mini-game event, Arkesia Grand Prix, that will run for a month and see 2 teams of 7 players compete in what looks like a fun little Mario Kart style race. Are you folks excited for the March update? Sound off in the comments. In Overwatch news, after what feels like an eternity, we got an Overwatch 2 dev update from game director Aaron Keller, in which he revealed that the team decided to decouple Overwatch 2's PvP and PvE modes so that they could release PvP to the public sooner, and he also revealed that closed alpha testing for Overwatch 2's PvP is starting this week under NDA, with closed beta beginning in late April, and people can sign up. Now you can find the sign up website for that beta in the description. Hopefully by now the site still works. I know when it was first released, it got hugged to death with internet traffic. It was just overloaded. Too many people were trying to sign up at the same time, but I think they've sorted that out by now. Now what's also noteworthy is that Keller admitted in his video that they've let down fans by not being more communicative.
We recognize we haven't communicated well, haven't kept you up to date, and honestly, we've let you down when it comes to delivering Overwatch content.
You know, he may not be Papa Jeff, but maybe he can be Unky Aaron. In Diablo news, starting with Diablo 3. The PTR for upcoming Season 26 began this week. Do check out my overview video covering the PTR patch notes, but in short, the season theme is a new activity, Echoing Nightmares, in which players fight waves of increasingly difficult monsters. There are a couple different map layouts that spawn, and you have 4 pylons to use as you see fit. Power pylon, shield, channeling, and conduit. There's an overwhelmed bar that fills up as more monsters spawn, and it depletes as you kill monsters. Once the bar fills up completely, because you're failing to kill the monsters fast enough and they just keep spawning, you fail. You also fail if you die, and if you are playing hardcore, a death is a death. And since the only way an Echoing Nightmare ends is by either dying or by being overwhelmed, well, hardcore players, you'll want to deliberately become overwhelmed at some point, at a point at which you know you can stay alive. Just run around, wait out the timer, and don't die. The rewards for Echoing Nightmares are looking really good, and it's a little bit unclear whether the XP is being buffed by the PTR XP progression buffs. It probably is, because otherwise it is an insane amount of XP being given out. Patch 273 also brings a rework to the Barbarian's Raycor set, turning it into a spear-throwing barb. And not bad overall. It does seem to struggle greatly against Rift Guardians. However, the single target DPS is a little rough, but there's still a lot of PTR to come, and we might still see more changes. The patch also saw quality of life changes made to Greater Rifts, including removing some bad maps, adding some new good maps, and giving players the ability to close a Greater Rift that they've opened. And lastly, in quick Diablo 2 news, a Redditor had started a poll asking people when they thought the first ladder would launch, and his options included dates that ranged from March 13th all the way to June 25th, as well as the second half of 2022 and even 2023. And community manager Pez Radar replied to the thread saying some of those dates were insane, and reaffirming that the goal is to have the ladder start within the coming weeks, likely a week or so after 2.4 launches. And that is going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video in which we discussed the buffs we saw in Diablo 2's PTR. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.